Good morning, Shea Middle School. Mr. J here for another episode of History with Mr. J. Today, I thought it would be good to talk a little bit about another unknown person in history, someone who's been forgotten, and kind of a story that you probably do not know. Most of you have heard of Paul Revere and Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, where he warned the countryside of the impending British attack on the colonists. What many of you might already know is that Paul Revere did not ride alone. As you learn in your history class, it's common knowledge that Paul Revere rode with Dr. Samuel Prescott and William Dawes. And if you've learned that story, you'll also learn that he was pulled over by the British and interrogated. But yet, of all the people that we know about that rode that night, Paul Revere is the one that stands out the most. And the reason for that is because of a poem written by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. And in that poem, and the poem begins by saying, "Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year." And so because of that poem, Paul Revere goes down in history as the man who warned us of the British coming in the American Revolution. But what you probably didn't know, and I want to talk to you today about, is that actually one of the most successful writers was a young girl by the name of Sybil Ludington, who was only 16 years old. Here's her story. A young American patriot, Sybil Ludington, is the female counterpart to the more famous Paul Revere. Her father was loyal to the British Crown until 1773 when he joined the rebel cause. He was quickly promoted to colonel and led his local regiment. Colonel Ludington's area of command was along the vulnerable route that the British could take between Connecticut and the coast of Long Island Sound. When British troops and loyalists attacked a nearby town, Danbury, Connecticut, in 1777, a rider came to the Ludington household to warn them and ask for the local regiment's help. At the time, the colonel's regiment was disbanded for planting season, and all the men were miles apart at their respective farms. The rider was too tired to continue, and Colonel Ludington had to prepare for battle, so he asked his barely 16-year-old Sybil to ride through the night, alerting his men of the danger and urging them to come together to fight back. Ludington rode all night through the dark woods, covering 40 miles, a significantly longer distance than Paul Revere. And because of her bravery, almost the whole regiment was gathered by daybreak to fight the British. After the Battle of Danbury, legend has it that George Washington even went to Ludington's home to personally thank Sybil for her help. Although Ludington never gained the widespread fame that Paul Revere did in America's history, she was honored with a stamp by the Postal Service in 1975. There's a statue of her by Lake Glenita in Carmel, New York, and there are historical markers tracing the route of her ride through Putnam County. Until next time, this has been History with Mr. J. Have a great day, Shay.